Okay, hello everyone. Am I audible? To the last. खाना खा लिया? हजम हो गया? अब चाय भी नहीं है? Bear with me for 45 minutes. After that, you can have your snacks. So, सुबह फ्लटर कर दिया, फिर कंपोज कर दिया, दोनों को मिक्सअप भी कर दिया, कॉटलिन वर्सेस फ्लटर कर दिया, आर्किटेक्चर के पैटर्न्स दिख लिया, सब कुछ हमने कर लिया है. तो फिर अब बचा क्या है? तो आज अपने में इस टॉक में हम नेविगेशन के बारे में बात करने वाले हैं. थैंक यू. वाह, बढ़िया क्लिकर है. ओके, सो हम आज इस टॉक में नेविगेशन के बारे में बात करने वाले हैं, लेकिन सिर्फ नेविगेशन के बारे में नहीं, उसके अलावा भी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जिसके बारे में हम बात करने वाले हैं. तो आपको आगे के स्लाइड्स में पता चल जाएगा. सो लेट्स स्टार्ट टुडेस टॉक. अब इसका कोई मतलब नहीं है, एंकर ने सारा बोल दिया है. So let me give you some of my insights which are not present over here. So sometimes people came to me and ask me, what is your experience? Is it 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year? And I get confused each and every single time. Do you know the reason why? You know? Yes or no? No? Okay. So basically, I started programming when I was at the age of 7. And for my office journey, it's been 1 to 2 years. So I get confused every single time. So do I have to count from the 7 year or do I have to tell them my office journey? So I got confused every single time because of these things. And the other thing that when I started programming, I initially started with HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Then I jumped to backend stuff. Then after that I left coding. I went to media. I started Photoshop and then video effects and all that. And at last, I finally jumped onto the coding again and I started doing mobile development. So at last time, I was attendee like you last year. And this year, I am at the speaker stage. So thank you, GDG Ahmedabad. So here's our today's agenda. We'll first understand the difference between the different programming paradigms. After that, we'll see the difference between the old Navigator 1 and the new Navigator 1. So how many of you are Flutter developers, professionals? And how many of you are Android developers? Oh, sorry, this talk is not for you, but I hope that you'll get some insights. Then we'll see some libraries. So in today's talk, we are going to talk about AutoRoute. So AutoRoute is one of the libraries for Flutter. And after that, we'll talk about the features of AutoRoute. So route guard, nested navigation, deep linking. These are all the features of AutoRoute. So at last, we'll talk about that. So demo भी दिखाऊंगा मैं आपको ताकि ज़्यादा boring ना लगे. Okay, so इसमें live coding है, तो इसलिए मैंने ये वाली slide पे डाल दी है. आप इसे पढ़ के ignore कर सकते हो. पढ़ लिया? आप बोलेंगे मैं कंप्यूटर थोड़ी हूँ. कोई नहीं. Okay, so let's understand the difference between declarative programming and imperative programming. So to understand the difference between these two, let's take an example of this. Is there anyone who doesn't know this? Baga, right? And at the right hand side, 40 lakh lega. Okay. Can anyone guess which movie is from the right hand one? The upper one. And the bottom one? Damal. Okay. So now let's take these two examples and then let's understand the difference between imperative programming and declarative programming. So for the folks who see Tarak Mehta a lot, they all know that if we are going to give any instruction to Baga, we'll have to give each and every single file. How? You have to do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. We'll have to do the final destination as well as the all process. But for the declarative programming, on the right hand side, you can see he wants 40 lakh. He doesn't want to know why. चोरी करो, डाका डालो, कुछ भी करो. हमको नहीं पता कुछ भी. The same way, this kid wants 10 crore. He doesn't want to know how. कुछ भी करो. So that is the core difference between imperative programming and declarative programming. So now let's see the difference in the code side. So the left hand side is the imperative programming code. We have one list. In that list, we have some integers. And what do we want to do? We want to sum up everything. Sum up the whole list. So what we have to do? We have just iterated a for loop. The I variable is iterating over the list. And then we are just adding the variable in the sum variable. Sounds good, right? But for the declarative step, we have a function in Dart called fold. So by using that function, you are not mentioning how you are going to sum up. All you need to know is you want to sum up. Now, the reason I showed you the difference between imperative and declarative programming is because Flutter uses declarative programming by default. Flutter and compose both of them. We have rows, columns, containers, text, everything. So there is something called parent-child relationship. So that is declarative programming that we are used to do in our day-to-day job as a developer. But by using declarative programming, we can shorten our syntax by a lot. So that is why we are using declarative programming. But again, why this difference? So the reason that I showed you the difference between imperative programming and declarative programming is this one. So in the old times, we used to do navigation like this. Navigator.push, context, material page route, so and so forth. And at last, we are defining our screen. So what do you want to do? Just navigate to the second screen. But we are providing each and every single instructions over there. Any GetX developer here? Okay, sorry folks. By the way, you can utilize this in GetX too. I'll show you how. Okay, so now let's understand the problems that are with the Navigator 1.0. Now, what was Navigator 1.0? So in the last slide, I showed you some snippets of code that were for navigating to one screen to the another. So those code were from Navigator 1.0. So there are some problems with Navigator 1.0 that we are going to discuss today, and at the end, we are going to discuss how can we solve those things. All right? So the first and foremost problem is the web that we have seen in the morning. So you can see in the GIF, I am going to another screen, then back is working for one time only. After that, the forward button is not working, nor the back button is working. So Flutter is available for web, we all say that. But we also have to deliver the experience of the web also. So we'll see how can you deliver the same experience using AutoRoute. Then the another one, access to the router stack. Now, why do you need this? Let's say I am navigating one screen to the another from login to home. Okay? After that, I am navigating to home to edit profile, and so on and so forth. But now, I just want to delete one screen from the router stack. So all the screens are on the stack format, on top, one on the other, right? So now I just want to delete one screen from the whole stack. So in the old Navigator API, you are not able to do this. So that is one problem. Again, this problem is specific to your use case. In our day-to-day job as a developer, we don't find any such use case like that. But let's say one day you find this kind of use case, then you won't be able to solve this use case using Navigator 1.0. Then OS events handling. Have anyone implemented the nested navigation using old Navigator API? No one? आप ना भी बोल सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. चाय मिलेगी सबको बराबर मिलेगी. Okay, so in the old Navigator API, we have one widget in Flutter called WheelPop Scope. So let's say I have wrapped my screen with WheelPop Scope. So for the Android folks, what this widget does is, whenever I press back on my mobile phone, it will give me a callback and I can do anything with that. So now I am getting the callback. So in the callback, I have said that I don't want to close my nested navigation system. But what happens with the Navigator 1.0 is, even if you have implemented nested navigation, your application will turn off. It will directly go to home screen if you press back button. So this is one problem with that. And at last, the reason we have seen the difference between imperative and declarative programming, Flutter is all about declarative programming, but the navigation that we are used to till now was the imperative one. So now it's our job to use declarative programming in that also. And that the last point is nested navigation that I have discussed earlier. So ये सारे के सारे प्रॉब्लम्स है नेविगेटर 1.0 के, समझ में आ गए? आर यू गाइस विथ मी? थोड़ा जोर से। नहीं, खाना नहीं खाया आपने 6 से यार। Okay, so here is the conclusion that Navigator 1.0 won't be able to tackle everything. वो आपको पता चल गया होगा, मुझे कहने की भी जरूरत नहीं है। तो अब हम इसमें क्या कर सकते हैं? So as a developer, we have one API called Navigator 2.0. So was Flutter able to solve this issue? Yes or no? Navigator 1.0 में हमने इतनी सारी प्रॉब्लम्स देखी अभी, तो क्या फ्लटर ये सारे इश्यूज को सॉल्व कर पाया था? अरे अगर नहीं कर पाया होता तो फिर मेरी टॉकी क्यों होती आज? ओके, माय आंसर इज आल्सो नो, बस आस्किंग जस्ट टाइम पास। ओके, सो वन फाइन डे दिस हैपेंड. I was wandering through the libraries of Flutter. So Flutter introduced this API called Navigator 2.0, which aimed to solve each and every single thing, each and every single problems that have existed with the old Navigator 1.0 API. But the problem was, it was too cumbersome. The thing was, वो डेवलपर को समझने में नहीं आता था कि हम इम्प्लीमेंट कैसे करें, क्योंकि वो बहुत ही कॉम्प्लेक्स था. तो एज अ फ्लटर डेवलपर सारी की सारी कम्युनिटी के मिलकर पैकेजेस बनाने शुरू कर दिए. तो उसमें से एक पैकेज है ऑटो राउट. तो हम आज इसके बारे में बात करने वाले हैं. ओके, सो नाउ लेट्स डिस्कस अबाउट द फीचर्स ऑफ ऑटो राउट. द फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट फीचर इज कंप्लीट वेब सपोर्ट. सो हमने वेब सपोर्ट की प्रॉब्लम में देखा था कि बैक बटन एंड द फॉरवर्ड बटन वाज नॉट वर्किंग. And in the morning, we saw that if we press the refresh button, the run app will call again, will have another engine instance, so on and so forth. But now, how AutoRoute aims to solve this issue is, once you implement AutoRoute in your Flutter project, the web support is integrated by default. You don't have to configure anything. You just have to name your screens as per your path. Let's say I am having home screen, then my path will be home. If I am having the profile screen, my path will be profile. So these are the solutions that AutoRoute provides for the web. So now let's see the demo also. By the way, I hope आपने second slide देख ली थी. Okay. Okay, the code is visible, right? Light mode करूं या चलेगा? कुछ तो बोल दो. अभी एंड्रॉइड वर्सेस आईओएस की डिबेट करेंगे तो सब खड़े हो जाएंगे. वाह, ये इतना जल्दी कभी रन नहीं होता, बट आज हो गया. ओके ओके, अब ये मैंने जूम कर दिया है, लेकिन एड्रेस बार में नहीं दिख रहा. ओके, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. सो दिस इज अ सिंपल फ्लटर ऐप. सो दिस इज द नेविगेशन टू बुक लिस्ट. सो दिस इज जस्ट अ डमी स्क्रीन. सो ऑन द एड्रेस बार कैन यू सी द हैशटैग एंड द वन. थोड़ा थोड़ा आप देख सकते हो कि चेंज हो रहा है. नाउ लेट मी प्रेस बैक बटन. नाउ लेट मी प्रेस फॉरवर्ड बटन. ओके, इट वर्क्स. बढ़िया, कोड नहीं फटा. अच्छा, ये एक चीज सही है, दूसरी कंट्रीज में कोड ब्रेक होता है, अपनी कंट्रीज में कोड फटता है. देन आई थिंक some of you guys might have seen this. So this is the page of Twitter's 404. So let's say you are going onto Twitter and Twitter is facing some kind of issues, then you'll see this kind of screens. But let's say you are building application for Flutter. So how can you implement this kind of stuff? Let's say our network is down, or user is facing any kind of issue, or user is entering any other kind of links that we are not supposed to handle. Then how can we display this kind of things? So AutoRoute provides this functionality also. So let's see that again on the live demo. By the way, we are not going through the process of setting up the AutoRoute demo, the complete thing. because you all are smart. You all can go to this pub.dev website and you all can see how to configure auto route. So we'll not waste time in that. So here you can see this is something called redirect route. Okay. So what this thing does is, in the path you can see I have implemented home and then slash we have star. So this star means anything, A, B, C, X, Y, Z, you can write anything in that. So whenever any user writes this kind of path, it will be redirect to the home screen. Seems good? Okay, let's test this also. Okay, so now we are navigated to the book details screen. Now let's try this. I am writing slash home and then slash ABC, XYZ, anything, and press enter. Okay, it works. Strange. Then we have something called route guards. So हम जब टीम में काम करते हैं तो लेट्स से एक बंदा लॉगिन साइन अप पे काम कर रहा है, उसने कोड किया है कि लॉगिन का सक्सेस का रिस्पॉन्स हो जाए तब होम स्क्रीन पे चले जाना. दूसरा बंदा 2 दिन के लिए छुट्टी पर चला गया, अब रिक्वायरमेंट चेंज हो गई, अब होम स्क्रीन पे लैंड नहीं करना चाहिए, ऑनबोर्डिंग स्क्रीन पे लैंड करना चाहिए. दूसरा बंदा 2 दिन के बाद आता है, उसे पता ही नहीं ऑनबोर्डिंग पे कैसे जा रहा है जब तक वो लाइव रन नहीं कर रहा है. उसे पता क्यों नहीं चल रहा है? क्योंकि हमारा लॉजिक और नेविगेशन सारा का सारा पूरा एक ही फाइल में है. तो अगर हमें उसको डीकपल करना है तो देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड राउट गार्ड फॉर दैट. सो वी कैन डीकपल आवर नेविगेशन फ्रॉम आवर लॉजिक. ओके, सो हाउ कैन वी डू दैट? सो लेट्स से आई हैव वन होम स्क्रीन. तो जब भी मैं होम स्क्रीन पे जाता हूं तब ये मेरा गार्ड चेक करेगा होम स्क्रीन के जाने से पहले कि उसको कौन कौन सी चेक लगाना है. लेट्स से अगर यूजर ऑथेंटिकेटेड है तो ऑनबोर्डिंग पे चला जाए, अगर ऑथेंटिकेटेड नहीं है तो फिर लॉगिन पे चला जाए. तो अगर हमको ये सारा इंप्लीमेंट करना है देन वी कैन यूटिलाइज समथिंग कॉल्ड एज राउट गार्ड्स. सो वी विल आल्सो सी द डेमो फॉर दैट राइट नाउ ओनली. बोरिंग नहीं लग रहा है ना? लगेगा तो भी नहीं बोलोगे आप तो. ये रहा, मिल गया. Okay, so we have defined one auto route. So this is simple our home screen. Okay, then this initial true, that means that whenever our application runs, this home screen will be first to render on the screen. Then we have something defined called as guards, and in this guard I have defined this auth guard. So now let's see the code of this thing. So to implement any kind of guards, you have to implement by this auto route guard. And once you extend this by auto route guard, you have to implement this method called as on navigation. तो ये मेथड क्या करती है? जब भी मैं होम स्क्रीन पे जाता हूँ तब ये मेथड रन होगी और इसमें मैं अपने चेक लगा सकता हूँ कि अगर ऑथेंटिकेटेड है तो इस स्क्रीन पे चला जाए और अगर ऑथेंटिकेटेड नहीं है तो दूसरी स्क्रीन पे चला जाए. तो ये सारा नेविगेशन मेरा एक सेपरेट फाइल में आ गया है. सो इसका नेविगेशन मुझे अपने लॉजिक में डिफाइन करने की जरूरत ही नहीं है. सो दिस इज वन ग्रेट फीचर दैट ऑटो राउट प्रोवाइड्स, एंड दिस फीचर इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय डिफॉल्ट इन नेविगेटर 2.0. सो इफ यू वांट टू यूटिलाइज दैट आल्सो you will be able to utilize that. Okay, then nested navigation. इस JF को मत देखना, चक्कर आ जाएगा. Okay, so nested navigation for some developers is a nightmare. We have bottom navigation bar. We are going screen by screen by screen, and then user suddenly changes the tab. What happens? We are just starting from the beginning again. This happens a lot time, and as a Flutter developer, it's our responsibility that user don't face this kind of issues because they are used to utilize applications such as YouTube, Instagram. So those applications provide nested navigation by default. So they will expect that if you are building application, then these features are provided by default. So there are two kind of paradigms, something called as point of parity and the point of difference. So point of parity is something that is present over each and every single app. So let's say WhatsApp provides chatting feature. So now if I am building one chat application, then chat feature is something that should be built by default. I shouldn't be like मैं इसके लिए सब्सक्रिप्शन की फंक्शनलिटी इंटीग्रेट नहीं करूंगा कि अगर आपको चैट करना है तो आप इसको 10 रुपए दो, 20 रुपए दो. Okay, so AutoRoute provides this nested navigation functionality, and as we have seen the difference between imperative programming and declarative programming, nested navigation in AutoRoute is quite simple. Why? Because it's simple as we are defining rows and columns in Flutter. So in column we have children, in row we have children. Same way in nested navigation, let's say you have home screen, and in that home screen you have 4 to 5 screens. So your parent column can be home screen, and those 4 to 5 screens can be the children of that screens. So any developer can understand nested navigation, and any developer can implement this nested navigation very easily. You wanna see the demo? Sure? Okay, चलो देखते हैं. बाप रे, कितनी सारी ब्रांच है. Okay, so this is the code for nested navigation. So as I have earlier discussed, we have home screen, and in the home screen we have home detail screen. So there are only two screens, home screen and home detail screen. And in the second tab I have profile screen and profile detail screen. Okay, seems fair enough? Okay, now let's run it and check it. So this is, as I have discussed earlier, home screen has children. Same way, profile has also children. So this way you will be able to implement nested navigation very easily. Okay. हो गया run? Yes, हो गया. So we have two tabs. One is home. Second is profile. Okay. Now let's go into the home details. And now let's switch the tab. Okay. If I am using Navigator 1.0, and if I click on this home tab, what will happen? It will go to the slash, the home path only. I'll again have to go to the home detail screen by myself. But now since we have implemented nested navigation, if I tap on this home screen, we are still on the home detail screen. But now let's spice some things up. Let me go to the profile, and let me go to the profile detail screen as well. Now let's change the tabs. If I am changing the tab from home, we are getting the home details. And if I am changing from profile, okay, it is still showing profile details while it works. And the back works also. So back, we are back to the profile, and here we are back to the home. Okay. So far so good, code nahi pata hai. Okay, so this was about nested navigation. Any questions so far? वाह, मैं इतना बढ़िया समझाता हूँ. Okay, and at last we have deep linking. So how many of you have implemented deep link in your application, in Android or in Flutter or in iOS? So was it a pleasant experience? From default, or you might have to use some kind of packages, app links or unilinks if you are using Navigator 1.0 APIs. But now let's say I don't want to use any kind of packages. I just want to use AutoRoute in that. Can I use it? The answer is yes. You don't need any kind of packages if you want to use AutoRoute, because AutoRoute provides deep linking support by default also. So AutoRoute provides nested navigation, deep linking, route guards, so forth and so on. And all these features are implemented by default with just one package. You don't need to need separate packages like DO. Then for caching you have another package. Then for retrieve you have another package. It's not like that. So deep linking is something that is a nightmare for some developers. And if we implement deep linking for the first time, then it will be very hassle. But in AutoRoute, let's see how can we implement that. So I have demo for that also. सारे डेमोस आपके लिए लाया हूँ आज फ्री. Okay, is it visible? चाय मिलेगी सबको? Okay, so we are going to take an example of deep linking in Android. So for deep linking in Android, we have something called Android manifest.xml. So in this file, you have to write this code. So this code I stole from the official Flutter website, just copy pasted it. I haven't done anything else. And after you done this thing, you have to go to your main.dot file, and in your router config, so if you are setting up your application for the Navigator 2.0 for the first time, then instead of material app, it will be material app.router, and instead of the routes and pages, it will be something called as router config. Okay, so in this router config, we have one parameter called deep link builder. Everyone able to see this parameter? Okay, so in this parameter, what I have done, I have just written this deep link. I am not doing anything else. We have this parameter called deep link, and I am just returning the same thing. And if I say our deep link has been implemented, wouldn't it be better, right? Okay, so now let's see how it's been implemented. So we have this routes.dot file. So in these routes, we have one bottom navigation bar and two tabs in that. One is profile and another one is notification, right? We have two tabs, and now we want to now whenever a user clicks on the link, our application should open and it should go to a certain kind of path, right? So now let me run my emulator so that I can show you the demo. Okay, it has been run. Now I have run my application on this emulator itself for the first time. So if you are implementing deep linking for the first time, then make sure you have at least run your application for once in either your mobile device or in the emulator before testing. So I have already run it on my emulator device for the first time. So I can directly run one command that will just initiate the deep link process, and it will open my application. Okay. I have copied the command as well. Okay, सबको command दिख रहा है? So after you implement the deep linking, you have to do certain kinds of stuff. What kind of stuff? You have to host some kind of JSON files onto your web server. You have to configure those stuff separately for the Android, separately for the iOS. But here we have not done any kind of these things. But still, if we want to test this deep linking, then we can test deep linking in Android by this command. So now let's see what this command does is, we have one URL. The URL is example.com/details, right? And in the last line, we have package name. So this is a typical package name that you can find on build.gradle. So in our case, it is com.example.deeplinkcookbook. So if we run this thing, okay, it is opening our application. I haven't done anything. We have parameter called deep link builder. I have just written that deep link. We haven't done any kind of setup. So in our normal cases, what you will do is, the link that you are getting, you will just defragment that. You will trim those things, then you will get list, then you will access those variables, you will trim that again, then you will have those if-else condition that, okay, this is home, then go to this home screen. But here, we haven't done any kind of that, and still our deep link is working. I don't think we can have anything good than this thing. Now, there is something called as cherry on cake. What is the cherry, you might say? In the initial explanation of this example, I have said that we have two tabs. The two tabs were profile and notification, right? Now what I want to do is, I want to directly jump to the notification screen once you click on my deep link. So in the path, all you have to do is, you just have to add your link. In our case, it is notification. Okay? चला दूं? पक्का? कोड तो नहीं फटेगा? Okay, it landed on notification. Wow, ये पहली बार हुआ मेरे साथ कि कोड नहीं फटा आज तक. Okay, so are these the only feature of the auto route? The answer is no. if I'm able to talk about the feature of auto route, I'll be spending days, if not weeks. So for this thing, I have written whole blog on Medium regarding all the features of auto route. So my blogs are covering in 3 series, and in all these series, I have covered 90% of the features that auto route provides. So it's not like you have to go with auto route. You can use any kind of Navigator 2.0 packages, but make sure you go through all of these functionalities. Because if you don't go through these functionalities, then you will be implementing those if-else case all the time. Okay? So we want to work smarter. We just want to learn for the first time only, and then we can utilize all of these features. Now, let's say you have one existing application and you want to migrate to the Navigator 2.0. Is it possible? Yes or no? The answer is completely yes. But should you? That is the question. We can migrate from anything. And let's say if new intern is coming, he might say that let's just throw the project, let's start from the beginning, let's start from scratch. The typical intern. Okay, so the thing with Navigator 2.0 is, if the problems that I showed with Navigator 1.0, if you are facing those errors, and those errors are something that you cannot live without, then you should directly switch to Navigator 2.0 without an issue. You have to switch even if you have to migrate everything. But let's say if you are not facing this kind of issues, then it's completely fine. But it will be better that in your next project you utilize Navigator 2.0 CPA. Because किसी को पता नहीं है सारी टेक्नोलॉजीज कब डेप्रिकेट हो जाए. फ्लटर आज है कल नहीं है, ये आज है कल नहीं है. But our core stream, our core fundamental should not change. So the things that I have showed you here, the difference between declarative programming, imperative programming, the extensions, the guard functionality, the deep linking thing. So those are the fundamental things which will almost remain same in each and every single framework, each and every single programming language. So try to understand those things instead of just focusing on the package. So we are not here to debate about this auto route or another packages. We are here to learn something that you can implement in any kind of technologies or any kind of frameworks. So that's why I have put the quote here. The art of navigation is about having the courage to change the directions. I hope that you have learned these things. So if you have any question regarding auto route, so I am available throughout the day. But if you are not able to get to me, then you can either reach out to me via LinkedIn or Twitter. I'll be happy to help you. So we have some time for the Q&A. So if you have any questions, then we can take. कोई नहीं? Yes, मैं सबसे बढ़िया बजाता हूँ. Okay, thank you folks. You have been such a lovely audience. Thank you.